Hey.
Oh, you're so young.
Far out.
Situated in a family-friendly location.
Wow, look at Eagle. Oh my God.
Showcasing some of the most magnificent views the hills has to offer.
My name is Rina Talet from Manor Real Estate.
Zach from Manor Real Estate.
I'm Paul Hannell.
And I'm Alex Jarrett. Let's check it out.
That house is in Bosnia. The house and the whole area got destroyed in the war in the early 90s. So that's what's left of my house. My dad passed away in the war. So it was just mum and I. I lived in Austria, I lived in Bosnia, I lived in Serbia. Now we're here. I was lucky enough to get my first job in real estate in March 2006. I worked my ass off. I saved enough and I bought my first property. I moved mum and I out of the housing commission lifestyle. And then here we are, 100-something staff later.
Renovated to perfection, sitting high with captivating views. This property is the one.
Well, guys, Manor Real Estate has just turned 9 years old. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got the original starting crew with me today, which will be exciting because I've actually grown up in the hills and seen the initial first blue signboards that popped up and Jay and Igor's face, and it's just expanded into this mammoth of a real estate business. So I'm going to just ask a couple of questions and just unpack the growth of Manor over the last 9 years to see really behind the bonnet how you guys have achieved all this success. And just watching that show reel of I guess from where you were to where you are now, I guess the first question for you, Jay, is what comes up for you when you watch that video?
I think one of our key values, which is progression. We've definitely progressed from office of 6, 5, trying to count people in this room or in the chairs, that to now over 100 staff. We've definitely evolved and progressed from 9 years ago. So that's something that we carry on.
That's awesome. And then Igor, for you, what do you remember about day one? Like, I'm sure there must have been heaps of nerves. I just seen on the screen, you came from a war-torn country. Yeah. Your dad had passed away and you'd actually got your mum out of housing commissions. Yeah. That must be a lot to take in.
Yeah, it feels like it was yesterday, but it was such a long time ago. When I look at that video, I see all of us, we look like children. But Jay was, I think, 27, I was 29, so young, but not so young. But I'm very, very proud of what we've achieved with the boys, because as Jay said, it was just the 6 of us that took this leap of faith, and now we've got just over 100 team members that are servicing the hills, and we're really dominating the marketplace.
What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about the starting days of Manor?
Hustle.
Yeah.
It was literally hustling, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hustle, hard work, excitement. There was a lot of late nights, a lot of stress, but it was worth it in the end.
Yeah.
Why did you guys start Manor? Like, Igor, what was it that thought you could do something different to your typical Ray White, Lewis Carr, Guardian, McGrath in the hills?
Yeah. Me, when I got into the industry, I always had a goal of opening up my own office, but it was just a matter of who do I do it with? I never wanted to do it on my own because I think it's better to sort of spread the load with a few good people around you. But why we started Manor is when I look at the market that we're in, there were a lot of good agents in that area, but they're all franchise models. And the way they were doing real estate, it was very old school, very transactional. We just wanted to bring a fresh approach to the industry, make it a bit more personal, and we also wanted to have strong ties to the community.
Were you guys mates, Jay and Eagle, before starting Manor, or did it come as a business?
No, we weren't. I think we had
one interaction before.
One interaction before. Wow. At a car dealership, and that was very brief. I always watched Eagle from a distance, and along with other agents, to just see how they operate. And I always had envisioned that of something opening up with Eagle or some of the top performers in the industry at that point. And when we worked in the same office, it just happened that we connected, we had a conversation, and we aligned in regards to our values. And I kind of asked the question that if he would ever start a business with me, and kind of just said yes, and off we went.
Yeah. the rest is history.
And then you've obviously brought on other directors as you've grown. So inside border, you, Paul, what was the moment for you when you realised Manor was not just a typical franchise and had momentum different to the other brands?
Yeah, I think for me, it was probably more so even before we were Manor at our previous company. The four of us were working together, and I think there was just a synergy.
Oh, so you worked together at the previous...
Yeah, the four of us.
The four of you guys?
Well, initially, obviously, I started out as Jay's associate. Zach was an associate to another guy there, and then obviously Igor and Declan moved from a different company. But yeah, I guess all of us just sort of... And Ellie, I went to school with Ellie, so then she obviously got a job through that way. We knew each other previously. And then I think with all of us just being there together, everyone got along, worked really well. And I think just seeing what Jay was doing at the time, I was 18.
18?
Yeah, so I was 18 then. And I was like, yeah, I want to be like that. So I just knew where he was going to go, I was going to follow.
What were some of the work hours he was throwing you back when you were 18? I've heard Manor are notorious for 100-hour
Yeah.
weeks.
Careful.
Well, if I wasn't there at 8 a.m, I had to buy him a bacon and egg roll. So I had to buy him breakfast if I was late. But yeah, probably about 8 a.m. till then, like the earliest I'd leave would be 6:30. Yeah, wow. Yeah, and that was Monday to Saturday. Yeah.
Big grind.
Every now and then, like I used to try and think I could do 7 days, but I didn't mind my Sunday off if I could, but yeah, every few Sundays we would do 7 straight.
I tried to force Paul to do 7 days. But
I think just putting in what we were putting in at the time, though, and those hours and being efficient with them, like, you just knew it was going to be something special. So,
What about you, Zach? I'd love to hear your perspective on the energy of Manor in those early days. What did you notice about Manor back then?
Yeah, it was like a bullpen, you know. So when you got in, everyone was on the phone. And I guess at that point in time, no one really knew who we were. So we were out there to make a point of who we were, and we're all trying to get our own profile and up and running. And I think that's a big part of our success, for sure. We just really worked hard those first few years.
What does work hard look like for you guys? Hitting phones? Or?
Yeah, it's like you've got a certain amount of phone calls to hit, and you'd make sure you hit those phone calls. You know, you don't really leave early unless you get them done, which, you know, obviously that I've seen that change over the time. But, you know, we just really outworked our competitors, I felt. Really did. Like Paul and I didn't have a brand. Within a couple of years, we had a brand in a market that was competitive. And I think that came to the mentorship of Jay and Igor that helped us along the way, and hard work.
yeah, I think there was like a level of discipline that was stuck to at the time.
Yeah, tell us about the discipline.
Like it was, you know, when we were in the morning from this time to this time, you were making the calls and you weren't getting coffees, you weren't going to the toilet, you weren't doing anything.
The famous line was,
Yeah.
would you go to the toilet during a listing appointment?
Yeah. Yeah, which is obviously not.
Do the other staff still have this today, or was that a thing back then?
Yeah, look, I think there's a little bit more leniency around it. For us, I think some of the staff do, and you can tell the ones that have that naturally inbuilt into them. You can see who's going to obviously break away from the pack and, you know, make a name for themselves also. And I think too, like some people do it at their own pace. But if if you're serious about the job and you want to do it within a reasonable time frame, you do more than what you're paid for to then earn more later on, and obviously not have to grind. I think the grind part of it is only a window of time, and then you work more efficiently later.
Well, I guess the proof's in the pudding with all of his number one in your suburbs.
Yeah, we had to hustle hard early on because we were starting a fresh brand, new agency. No one really knew the brand. People knew Jay and Igor, but that was only a small portion of people. So we had to get in early, make the calls, stay back late. You guys remember the first day?
I thought about that as we got here. Paul and I were not on time, and we learnt nice and early that you're on time from now on.
Well, Zach, you were talking about mentorship from Igor and Jay. Just out of curiosity, what bit of advice sticks out, good or bad, when you think of Igor and Jay?
You know, one thing I noticed when I used to work at Ray White, and Declan and Igor did this really well, like the way they prospected. And I was like, wow, like you guys, 9 to 12, they were just doing their phone calls consistently. And and the way Jay did things as well, I just thought, you know, these guys are going somewhere, you know. And that's why I think, you know, Paul and I and Declan and Ellie all jumped ship because we just knew where it was going to go. Maybe not to this extent, but we knew it was going to do well.
Almost like you put money on a horse to win. You could see
They
that
were all in, mate.
Yeah. What about you, Elle? What was, I guess, the biggest milestone that comes to mind?
I think I've got a few. I mean, I started with Manor. Obviously, I was at school with Paul. I was in uni at the time. Never had an office job. Didn't know a thing about real estate. I guess I had to just learn it from the ground up and take the guidance from the guys of where they wanted the business to go and get it there. I think a milestone for me would have been the last couple of years, doing 3 acquisitions in 18 months with some big brands like your Century 21s, LJ Hookers. For someone with absolutely no idea what they were doing going into it, we already had a big workload to take that on and successfully do that and integrate that into our brand. I think for me is a personal milestone that I've achieved here.
When you think of Igor and Jay back then, what's one thing that comes to mind?
I think the relationship's changed a lot over the last 9 years, and I think it sways between one or the other depending on where you're growing at the time. I think I've always viewed them as mentors, like father figures to me, I guess, in a way. Back then, I guess I was more under Jay and his team. I was terrified of Igor. I used to go over to the printer and just do a quick, "Hey, morning, how are you?" He would just ask questions and they came across so direct, but now I know it's Igor, and new people coming into the business, I'm like, oh, you're not going to know if he's telling a joke or if he's serious, that's just Igor. Like, knowing that now, I wish I knew that back then, but yeah, I guess they've built me to be a very resilient person.
What about you, Declan? You've grown your career at Manor. What's some of the things that resonate with you with Manor?
I think reflecting on it, growing into more of a leadership role and being able to mentor the sales team with their own campaigns, with solutions, has been, one thing, definitely.
Igor, how did you approach growing beyond just your core area in the hills? Like, how did you expand to multiple suburbs?
I think initially when we first opened the business, there was no great plan of world domination. It was just about, let's just set up an office and see how far we can take it. But as our profile grew, the company grew, naturally we attracted really, really good agents from other offices that wanted to come and join us. So as part of that, we needed more space, and we looked at different areas. Where are these agents dominant in? And let's set up an office there to help them progress further in their career, but also help us tackle more market share in different areas.
Was the office next to Frango the first one?
That was a second office that we opened after Bella Vista.
Yeah. Stockland, Grove Square now.
That's right. I remember seeing Jay and Igor's face in all the advertising at Stockland Mall back then. That's right.
Igor actually said early on, when I asked him once, where do you see Manor going? He said, one day we'll have an office on the moon. And it's always just stuck in the back of my mind of sometimes you can lose track of where you're going, or you don't know how far we can grow. And it's just always been a thing of, I don't think we ever have the limit. Like to say, one day we'll be on the moon, it's like genuine. It's not going to stop. We're always going to improve, and it's always stuck in my mind that from early on.
What about you, Zach? Looking at your rap sheet, mate, you've become the number one in so many suburbs. What's driven that?
It's a very good question. I think the good thing is Jay and Igor kept raising the bar, and I'm very competitive. So I always just wanted to try and get a bit closer. And they were getting further, so I was trying to get closer. Are we talking bench
press or real estate?
Look at the size difference, mate. No, I think you've obviously, for me, I wanted to provide for my family. That was a big thing, and I wanted to get ahead in life, so we worked really hard. And I think we all have got that competitive nature, and I think that's the drive, right? We really wanted to take this somewhere and be the number one, and and I think as we started getting momentum, that only fueled things more. So the first year I might have done 30 sales, and the next year we did 50 sales, and the next year you're 100 sales, and it just kept going and going and going. And I guess we dedicated everything. Like I was having a chat to Maddie, who's in my team. We used to get in at 7:30, make breakfast in the morning. We used to get in, go to the gym, make breakfast, and it was just part of life, right? And then we get back at 7 o'clock, do our thank you cards. And we just do calls and appointments all day, and that's what we did for a good 4 or 5 years straight. Wow. Yeah. It was, and it was the discipline and the consistency. That's what paid off, for sure.
And what was pretty cool to see from the outside looking in is it's not just you that was doing. Like it was all 4 of you that are operating at like this elite level, which is quite rare to see for one office to have so many successful agents in the one place.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of well, for me, I think the proudest thing seeing the company grow that, like in the hills specifically, there's no one that has more agents at that level in one place.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And I think you see it now too, Dan, with people that you speak to or interview, that success breeds success. So being surrounded by top performers, or even just top performers with good values that align with your vision, it sets the benchmark, like Zach mentioned, or the standard for anyone else to either surpass or strive for or aspire to. So I think for us, being able to lead from the front, showing those, those skills or those values resonate with the whole team from the top down. Yeah.
What's harder, Jay, being the top agent or running the business?
Running the business, definitely. Yeah. And I think once being an agent, you have a certain process and system, and you just follow that. But having a business and managing people, I think, is a different kettle of fish. And I think for all of us here, being a top agent, managing the business, being a good husband, being a present father, I think, and also being mindful of your health and your wellness, that is that holistic approach or that vision to try to keep everything balanced is probably the most difficult thing. But yeah, business, I think I can be an agent any day. But business owner, tough.
I'm keen to get everyone's perspective on this, because I'll interview agents and they'll say, just be an agent, don't start the business. You earn more money being an agent. I'm curious from your guys' perspective, if you had your time again, knowing what you know now and the hours, the discipline, the consistency, would you restart Manor again as its own brand, or would you be an agent?
I can.
I'd definitely go again. I think, like I said earlier, for me, it's always been a goal to start something big. And I think being an agent, yes, you might be able to make a bit more money, but it's not always about money. It's about a legacy. What I want one day is when my son is in his 30s, I want him to be able to drive past the Manor office and say, my dad started that. That's important to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I don't disagree that you can make more money as an agent, but I feel as now collectively getting Manor to where it is now, I guess the feeling that you get to see, even, let's say, for example, Paul sitting next to me, or Zach or Declan or Ellie, how far they've grown, the fact that you've contributed to that to some degree, and you've influenced that to some degree, I think it's more rewarding than writing $1 million more. There's a certain point that you go, you know what, that's great, but now you get to, I guess, live life with people that you've grown with and celebrate it that way, which I feel for me is more rewarding.
Have you played in a footy team before, Dan?
Yeah.
You know, when you win a grand final or you win a match and you do it all together, that's what it's like, when you see that success. Yeah.
Well, I guess there comes a point where you can't put any more of those luxury suits and Porsches in the driveway.
Yeah,
Ellie, just going back to you to summarise Manor, what would you say, coming back to the sheet, when did Manor feel like it was actually the number one agency in the hills?
I mean, I'm biased because it's been my one and only place. I think recently, we won Small Network of Agency of the Year. I guess to go accept that award, do the speech for it, I think that highlighted the consistency in our approach, our commitment, community involvement. It was kind of just like a summary of everything that we've put in, blood, sweat, tears, all our successes. It was recognised. We were going up against some heavy hitters with up to 30 offices across the country. So for us to take it out as, a Northwest Sydney real estate, I think for me that made it all sort of sink in. That was starting to be recognised, I guess, more in the big leagues. It's no longer just an independent boutique brand. We are competing with these franchises, and I think super exciting. And I guess probably the most recent example I can say, I've had plenty along the way where I'm like, yeah, we're it, this is it. But I think it changes every year. We just keep levelling up. So
look, Declan, you're looking polished, black suit. I'm curious, what was the hardest part of being part of the Manor culture when it's such a high paced environment?
Oh boy. I don't think it's been a hard thing to embody ultimately, because you're surrounded by it as well. So everyone's there to, as Zach said, with the football team, everyone wants it. So you're surrounded by it as well, and it's almost contagious. Yeah, so it's never been...
I'll just add to that. I think Declan's been there from the beginning. So he was part of creating the culture of what it is today.
I think he set the standard for a lot of it too. Like, he is the workhorse where people like, I don't know if he's friendly, if he talks about much, because he just gets in, he's on the phones, he's relentless.
He's an assassin.
Yeah, silent assassin.
What do they call him? The telephone assassin.
You'll never track him down on calls.
We sat next to each other when Manor first started, and I always felt like I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make more calls than Declan, or I'm gonna try and get one more appraisal.
A past question, I guess, like a reflection on these guys from myself. Like, obviously I've been behind the scenes on a lot of it. I've watched all of them come into Manor as obviously how old I am at the moment. Some of them were my age when we started. Watching them all come in as the party animals we used to be, and young, no responsibility other than paying off the car that we all decided was a good purchase at the time. I think, and now I've seen them all get married, and become fathers. It's been really, really good, humbling, I guess, for me looking up. Obviously, I'm a female amongst them, but it's been nice to see how they've grown into that as well, and developed in both their personal and business life. Like, they've always remained present in the business, there for support, but they've also grown families outside of the business, and that's been a really cool thing to be a part of.
Thanks, Ollie.
Yeah, good answer. Thank you.
Who? I'll go back to you, Declan, with the four other gentlemen. Besides yourself, who had the greatest work ethic in those first years?
What's your answer, mate?
Ellie Lane.
There's a gun behind him.
Jay, what's one question you have for Igor?
That's a good.
How much do I bench?
Yeah. What's been a pivotal moment in your career that you feel has made a difference in regards to the growth of Manor?
I think acquiring 3 businesses in 18 months, because for those that have done acquisitions, there's a lot of work that goes into it beforehand, during, and then dealing with all the fires afterwards. And I think we've done 3, as I said, in 18 months. I think that's,
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a trauma bonding.
What would you say? What would your answer to that be, Zach?
I think hitting the 100 sales, I'm hoping that kind of showed them, obviously the industry that, Igor and Jay are good leaders, because without them I wouldn't have got to that level. And hopefully that then helps us to build a bigger sales team, and helps the people within the company as well show that they can do it too.
Who came up with the concept Manor and the blue colouring? Because I remember back when you started, it was like this new thing. You'd see all your signboards, like blue everywhere in Borkham Hills, just blue and blue. Who came up with Manor and the blue?
Yeah, I think we had pages worth of examples and test dummies of names.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it came from my wife's friend's house that had Manor at the end of it, and I didn't know what Manor meant, so I kind of Googled it, and I go, wow, that's nice, a big estate.
And our first signboard was drawn on a piece of paper on my bedroom floor.
On your bedroom floor?
Because we didn't have the office at that time, and the boys were already listing prior to opening, and it was, we need to get signboards out. And it was like, okay, what do we want it to look like? I don't know. Like, it was just very organically, it just happened, I guess. And
it evolved.
Never stopped.
Better. Yeah, over time. And that photo, Ellie actually sent us a photo to the group about a manor house. It's like it's done through clip art, with all of us in there, like little people. And I looked at it. It was last week she sent it over, and I said, "Wow, we've come so far."
Jay, just out of curiosity, mate, as Manor, the brand, scaled, what did you have to let go of for the brand to evolve?
Definitely control. In regards to the high level decisions that the business have to make to be able to move forward. So now the setup with Manor is we've created a board amongst all the directors, which everyone has equal voting rights. So for myself, that's probably been the most difficult thing, but also something that we had to do in order for the business to evolve and grow.
Has that had a positive impact on the growth?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah, most definitely.
Igor, inside ball to you, mate. what changed internally as the business scaled, and how did you know it was time to start bringing on other directors?
Good question. So as we grew, the company got bigger, we had more staff. There's only so much that two people can do. So we had to look within the company and to see who the leaders are of the business. And we put certain people in certain departments to help drive that culture and performance.
Paul, for yourself, what were you focused on preserving and maintaining as the business has evolved? For example, was it customer service? Was it marketing? What did you need to retain as you grew?
I think Manor as a whole, maybe just trying to keep that the same sort of why we're doing it from when we started and letting that culture spread throughout, and also trying to keep that the same discipline as much as we could from what helped us to grow ultimately. So like even the younger guys, making sure that they're doing the calls from 9 to 12 ultimately, or door knocking ritually, like all that kind of thing. So
Steve, a big elephant in the room, I think, for the whole Hills district at the time was seeing you go from LJ Hooker to Manor, and the difference in, I guess, the culture from the outside looking in. From your perspective, mate, what was it that made you know Manor was the right place for you?
I think from a not just a business point of view, but from a personal point of view, Manor certainly is like a big family. So there's lots of people that you can talk to if you've got questions or you've got issues. But then certainly across, like from an umbrella point of view looking down, there's definitely your pillars around trust, integrity and honesty, which I certainly aligned with.
Was it a hard thing for you to do the change initially?
I suppose any change initially is always, you've got some reservations about it, but I think anything that you're passionate about, there's going to be some questions, and been very happy with the outcome and the move.
I guess some time has passed since the initial change till now. What's been the biggest thing that's enabled you and your brand within Manor to elevate as opposed to being part of LJ Hooker?
I think there's certainly, Paul spoke about culture. Like there's certainly, culture's a big thing. I mean, I suppose when you've got a lot of people, it's sometimes hard to keep culture. We're certainly trying our absolute best to make sure that everyone comes to work and wants to be at work every single day and put their hours in, which is, that's a big thing for us.
What about you, Taylor? What's been the biggest thing that attracted you to Manor and the change, and what's that impact been like for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest attraction to me was obviously the presence in the hills. It was a market that I wanted to jump into, and I guess the exciting thing is, I guess you get to restart and rebuild your career in a new area under a new brand. And I think definitely having that leg up, being with the dominant brand in the hills, has definitely helped, and definitely within the brand as well. From a leadership perspective, it's definitely allowed me to grow those qualities and try to give back and help grow the business as well.
How would you describe where Manor is today, and where do you see it heading in the future?
I think today what's exciting is that even in the short time I've been with the company, it's already changed quite a lot for the better. And I also think that everybody at the table, at the board level, has the same growth aspirations as each other. So I think when you've got 7 people making decisions on things, it's always very well thought out. And I think it definitely carves a path that's further than just the next 3 months, the next 6 months. We're trying to look at the next, X many years, the next decade, to really know that we're helping our clients in the pursuit of something greater as a brand as well.
Was there anything, Taylor, that Manor did that you weren't used to previously that surprised you for either positive or negative?
I think that every business is run differently, and I think every business has its strengths and weaknesses. I think one thing that I really enjoy within Manor is the fact that, as Steve alluded to, you've got an idea or you need some advice on something, there's multiple people you can run it past, and they're all there to support you in that, implementation of that. So whether it's a new initiative, whether it's something to roll out at a sales meeting or in your own business, there's definitely multiple sort of leaders within the business to run that off.
On that, Zach, what would you say, having brought on new directors outside of the business? I know Jay was saying originally you wanted to grow the business internally, elevate the staff to become directors. You've obviously had outside come in. What's that experience been like for Manor's growth?
I think it's been very positive, because I find everyone at the table has their own personality and their own views on things. And I think having different perspectives will help us grow in the right way. Sometimes if you've got 4 people thinking alike, you might not see what other people might see. And I think everyone at the table, all 7 of us, have their own personality, and I think that's going to help us grow.
What about you, Igor? When it comes to having bought outside in, what's been that impact like for you?
I think it's been positive. Like what Zach said, I think everyone's got their own sort of flavour to add to it. But I think deep down, value-wise, we all line up and we're all chasing the same thing, and we want to see the company go the same direction.
Steve, I know you kind of touched on when you were talking about Manor being something you looked at both personally and professionally, but out of curiosity, how has that actually made a tangible impact to your life today?
There's certainly a lot more, I suppose ultimately there's better systems in place. So if there is someone who we can talk to in marketing, there is someone who we can talk to in accounts, there is someone who we can talk to as from a senior property manager point of view. So it just means everyone's a lot more accessible. So if you do need information, you can get it a lot quicker.
Jay, what was a key move that signalled Manor was entering a new level of growth?
The acquisition of the Jewel office, having the elite agents that we have now that's part of the board, Will, Steve and Taylor, I believe really showed the market and also the industry that we're very serious about growth and that we're entering into a new space.
Talking about growth, I've seen the growth of Manor selling some big boppers out in Drill with Mr. Will Brush. You're somebody who's been selling the absolute bangers in the Hills Drill marketplace, and we know that because we've seen it all over social media. So mate, a question for yourself, what's something you've brought to Manor's leadership team that reflects your personal style or values that they didn't have prior?
To the leadership team, probably, look, just the ability that we are tapping into higher networks and higher different values as such. In regards to the leadership style, not reinventing the wheel, just being direct, honest and pretty transparent in the way that I do everything, whether it's dealing with the directors, the staff, or just selling homes. So
I hit Steve and Taylor with a similar question. What was the transition like from previous to Manor?
Very different. It was a bit of an older business that had been there for 40 years, very well established in the area. So it was, for my sense, a bit of a breath of fresh air, having a new progressive way of doing things. And I think the local areas responded pretty well to that as well. So,
what do you think it is about Manor that drew you to them initially?
A lot of things. Like I think at first from the outside it was just the business, how progressive they were. But I guess as time went on and I guess conversations progressed, just meeting each of the guys and getting to know them personally definitely got us over the line, because it was something that, again, you think you know them from the outside, but when you really get to know them, they are just great guys.
Wasn't that night at Helm Bar? Wasn't that night at Helm Bar?
Wait, you got to go to a bar?
What was it like wearing new colours in Dural? I know when I think of Dural, I would think of Guardian or LJ Hooker. What was it like wearing new colours?
It was different because it is a very, I think particularly Dural's a very relationship area, and people are very used to what they know. It's an older demographic. They've probably been there for 10, 20, 40 years in some cases. So it was different, but I think, again, being different probably helped, and the market then responded to something that was a bit fresher and I guess not the same brand and process that they've been seeing day in, day out for the last 40 years.
Out of curiosity, out of all the directors, what's one piece of advice that either one of them shared with you that's changed how you operate your business?
Probably Jay. I met with Jay early on in the piece, and he just a bit more around the structure. Like I think I was trying to wear every hat for my whole career and just getting snowed down in so many little tasks because I wanted them to be done a way that I wanted. Whereas I think Jay early on just said, mate, like, there's people better at it than you. Let them do it, step back and just do what you're actually great at. I think that's probably just clears your day a little bit when you don't have that hour or two of just monotonous tasks over and over and over again. So, yeah, probably, I guess, outsourcing where needed.
What about you, Taylor, with the shift? What's been your biggest growth moment in this new chapter?
I think growth-wise, like some people look at growth as the number of sales they do, the commission they bring in. I think the biggest growth that I've had is probably taking on a bit more of a leadership role because, previously you'd always try to mentor the people around you. Now I feel like it's a responsibility, which I really like and I really sort of running with. So I think growth-wise, for me, the leadership aspect of it, because, you know, whenever you're trying to help somebody else pull them up, it naturally pulls you up as well. You know, you're training somebody or trying to strengthen a weakness of theirs, it reinforces why you do what you do, and it also just pumps you up. So when you're coming into work, it's not just, every day is different in real estate, but it just puts you in a really good frame of mind, and you know you've also got to set the example for other people as well. And I think having that responsibility, and it might be a title on paper, but there's a lot more behind the scenes that goes with it, which I'm discovering now, which I'm really enjoying.
Steve, what do you believe makes Manor a high-performing team, and how do you keep that standard alive?
I think definitely like young, energetic, very process-driven. I just do my best to try and keep up, to be honest.
But yeah, this guy can do push-ups. He'll do 50 plus in one sitting. So he's got all the young ones. Yeah, now it's out there publicly. He's got it publicly out there. You can't get anybody on bets anymore.
Big Paul.
Did he actually? Oh, he actually did.
I'm waiting.
Probably after chest day.
This is a question for all you directors. What does the next chapter unlock for you and for Manor?
Ooh.
Go on.
Who starts?
Is it like clockwise or anti-clockwise?
Oh, are we going?
I think with the new boys coming on board, there's just a lot more support for the other staff. They can go to someone else and ask for their advice and opinion on how to do things. But also strategically, it's going to help us recruit more top agents in the area.
I think we've obviously mentioned, but yeah, new territory. Having like Steve number one in Glenhaven, where previously Glenhaven wasn't an area that we had a lot of sales in. And again, like, yeah, obviously Will selling 14, 15 millers around that level. We didn't necessarily have that before. So, yeah. And Taylor as a great leader.
Yeah.
Average sale price under 2 million.
Definitely more territory. But I think in turn, as we've gone from one suburb to the next, to the next, to the next, even the guys that we're bringing up internally or girls in the business, it's going to allow more suburbs to then be taken over. So it just spreads.
I think it's just the widespread of listings. Like we'll sell now from, you know, Blacktown to Glenorrhea from 600 grand up to, you know, 15 mil. So I think it does just lift the perception of the brand across different demographics, but also pushes into different areas that maybe we weren't previously capable of.
Jay, Manor's achieved so much in the 9 years. Out of curiosity, mate, where do you see Manor evolving to next?
Now more than ever, with Taylor, Will, and Steve coming on board as directors of the business, it's given us a different angle that Manor is open to acquisitions at that level. And also internally, we have a few exciting news that we're about to release of people within Manor internally that we're grooming to that, to that leadership level.
Do you think there's another acquisition on the cards?
Eventually, yes. We're always open to it. I think we learned a lot from the 3 that we did. We probably did it quite quickly, the 3 in 18 months. And as a business and as a company, I think we learned a lot in regards to what we should do next and what we shouldn't. So there will be, but it will be of a strategic acquisition as opposed to an area that we haven't quite tapped into.
So Taylor, when we think of lead by example, what does that mean for you?
Lead by example, I think, is don't expect your team to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself, because if you're prepared to do it, I think you can have that expectation that somebody else will do it as well, and do it well.
Paul, with so many leaders next to you, I can imagine at times it could be easy to not drop the ball, but become complacent with what you need to do day to day as a leader. Moving forward for yourself, what does leadership look like for you in Manor?
I think still keeping the foundations there. So, you know, showing up every day on time, helping the younger guys, helping my team to grow. And same thing, like, for example, like, you know, I think one of my biggest traits that I want to see for the guys is what my journey was like. So to get someone from an associate to be able to then go onto their own, be able to list and sell on their own, build their own team. I think for me, that's probably one of my proudest things that I've done through Manor so far. Yeah, and to continue to do that daily.
Congrats, gents.